Greetings. Thank you for coming back, and this is part 2 of the CERN Is There a Connection video. I really hope that you have watched part 1, because that's the part that we use to give all of the fundamentals of what we are going to talk about. So it's the basis for what we are going to develop further here. So what we're going to talk about here is we're going to have the second part of the video, CERN connection. So is there a connection with CERN? And in part 2, we're not going to talk about the technological aspects of how CERN could be involved or connected, because this is going to be the subject of another video. There are many possible theories. I'm just going to talk about, if there is a connection, what would be the motivation for that connection? What would be behind that connection, and how does it relate to the fact that, or to my belief and the belief of many other people, that the Mandela Effect is actually linked, or is actually being caused by a awakening of the human consciousness, and it's actually a positive thing, and it's not a negative thing. And how would CERN fit into all this? So the idea is that, as we discussed in the first video, we started discussing this. We have the two paths. We have the negative path, which is the path of service to self according to the law of one. It's the path of separation from God, according to biblical tradition. It's the path of incoherence, as described by Erwin Laszlo. So incoherence in the sense that because God is infinity unity, so everything links back to God. If you are running away from this link, you're being incoherent. You're trying to find division. You're pursuing division. You're pursuing incoherence. And there is also the positive path, of course, which is the path of service to others, the path of union with God according to the biblical tradition. So service to others, it's the terminology that is used in the law of one, and the path of coherence. That's how Erwin Laszlo describes it. So we're being coherent. So if our destiny is to return to unity with God, and we are moving towards that destiny, we're being coherent. So that's how he describes it. Now I wanted to focus on separation and union. So the path of separation from God, that's the negative path, and the path of union with God, or the path of pursuit of the union with God. What does that mean? In reality, what does that mean? So a lot of people would think, well, this is a very poetic way to explain the path of love and compassion and the path of evil. I'm going to argue that there is nothing poetic about this. It's really, actually, it's very practical, and it's very simple. And this is how I think that it works. Now you have the path of union. So there's you are a person, a flesh and blood person living on this planet, and you also have what is known in spiritualist traditions as the higher self, what the law of one describes as the oversoul, what the biblical traditions describe as the God within you. Even Jesus Christ said, "Don't you know that you yourselves are gods?" And this is what he was referring to, because inside of us we have a monad, or a part of our higher being that is already living in complete harmony with the universe and in complete harmony with intelligent infinity, and which is God. So it's this part that we call the higher self, or the oversoul. And for those that have chosen to pursue the path of union with God, well, that's exactly what the higher self already wants you to do. So if you have chosen this path, you are in harmony with what your oversoul, what your higher self wants you to do, and therefore we represent that with this double arrow there. So you understand, you communicate with your higher self, and your higher self also acknowledges you, and is going to work with you to make you learn what you need to learn in order to progress, in order to evolve towards union with God. The other path is the path of separation. So there you go. So there's the folks that have chosen the path of separation, but they also have their own higher selves, and their higher selves are as the higher selves of any other person. They're also in union with intelligent infinity. They're also already in union with the Creator. But the problem is that when they choose the path of incoherence, when they choose the path of selfishness, when they choose the path of manipulation and control of others, that is precisely the opposite of what their higher selves want them to do. So this creates an incoherence, or a split between them and their oversouls. Now, you will remember from my other videos that we discussed the higher self of a person is already a 6th density being. We are, at this stage, we are still 3rd density. So the higher self is 3 evolutionary cycles ahead of us. The higher self is a being that is already beyond time and space. That's the extent of the conscience evolution of a higher self. And meanwhile, we are still locked. We are still imprisoned by time and space. So I'm using this cube to represent the prison, the time-space prison in which we live. And both the people that are following the positive path and the negative path on this planet, we are all we're all imprisoned by time and space. Now the problem is that the higher self has already broken the walls of this prison. The higher self already lives beyond time and space. So, and the critical thing is that the higher self, or our higher selves, are the co-creators of our reality. So these beings are so powerful that they are the ones that co-create our reality. So let me give you a very crude example. So it's a crude example. It's just to illustrate. Let's say, for example, that you have karma to, I don't know, stomp your foot on a rock while you are working, or while you're walking to work, for example. If that's your karma, your higher self will be the being that will manipulate the matrix, will manipulate reality, manipulate the timeline, just so there is a rock on your path, and you will be distracted in a way that you will stomp your toe on that rock. So the higher self is the co-creator. It's what Jesus Christ referred to as God in us, because we already have this power to create the reality. And the higher self will manipulate the matrix, pretty much the matrix, the cube matrix, just so we learn the lessons that we need to learn. And if we are in harmony with the higher self, we have these co-creative powers as well. This is exactly what I think is happening with the Mandela Effect. We are ascending, we are desiring a planet, a society that is governed by love and compassion. This is what our higher selves also want, because they are coherent, they are going back, they're already in harmony with infinite intelligence. And this blue line there represents a cooperation between us and our higher selves, so what we want and what the higher selves want. So because the higher selves do have the power to create reality, that's exactly what is happening. We are losing some of the aspects of an old reality that didn't suit us anymore, and we are being thrust into this new reality. Even though some of us still remember stuff from the old reality, from the old matrix, from the old timeline. This is the Mandela Effect. Now, and by the way, all of those people, all of those the New Age people that say, look, if you, whatever you desire, you can get it, because that's the law of attraction. And if you really, 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 really want to be rich, you will be rich. That's bullshit. That's absolutely bullshit, pardon my French, because what happens is that the ones that have the power to manipulate the matrix are our higher selves. It's not you, the physical you, it's your higher self. And there is absolutely no reason why your higher self would desire you to be rich. It may be the case, it may not be the case. If you need to learn a lesson of being, let's say, a beggar on the street, if that's the lesson that you need to learn on a particular incarnation, your higher self will work towards that goal. Your higher self will bankrupt you and will kick you out of the house, and everything's going to happen in a way that you will learn the lesson that you need to learn. If, for whatever reason, you need to learn a lesson of being really very, very, very rich, your higher self will do that. So all of these new age bullshit of whatever you want in life, just think really, really hard, because the law of attraction will attract you to that. That's crap. We are here to learn. We are here to go through experiences. Yes, you can change your reality when you align yourself with your higher self, and when you start working towards it, you can make changes, marginal changes. But the big lessons, if you have a big lesson to learn, there's no way that you can escape that. So this path of separation is the path where there is no connection between you and your higher self, which is a sixth density being. Now, what happens is, if there is, or because there is no connection, these folks, these Illuminati folks that want to manipulate the cube from within the cube, they find themselves banging their heads against a wall. They can't do it, because the only being that could do it would be their own higher selves, and their own higher selves are telling them, well, screw you, I'm not going to do all of the evil things that you want me to do. Therefore, these negative folks, they need to resort to things like technology. They need to resort to things like artificial intelligence. They're left to their own devices. They need to do things by themselves because their higher selves will not cooperate with their evil plans. And they also need to, which is something that is really very fashionable today with the Silicon Valley negative folks, is all of this garbage about transhumanism. The idea that, because I am really afraid of death, because I know that as I am a bad person, when I die, I'm going to be in a state of consciousness that is going to be really, really messed up. Then, of course, I am terrified of dying. So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to transform myself into a robot. That's what these Silicon Valley folks are trying to do in the vain hope that they will be able to live forever and they will cheat death. Well, guess what? It's not going to happen. Now, what the technology side is really very important, because that's where CERN comes in. They're trying to change the reality. They're trying to create ripples in time, in space-time, through technology, using CERN, using maybe other forms of technology. And they are trying to do this because they have severed their connection with their own higher selves. Now, this is where we're at. I'm not going to discuss how CERN would be ripping or causing ripples in time-space, how the actual technological, theoretical connection between CERN and changes in timelines, because that requires a lot of research. This video is getting already a little bit lengthy, so I just spoke about the motivation behind trying to use CERN to create different realities. I hope that you saw part 1 of the video. And please leave your comments below. We are going to discuss the technological side of things in another video, and there are also heaps of other resources on YouTube, etc., that you can research. So thank you very much. God bless.